isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log, subdate 21206.8. I have banned my crew from accessing the Christmas holodeck programs after they told me that on the 5th day of Moistmas my true love fisted me with a Yankee wax-tarted phaser rifle. Welcome everyone to This Week at Twitter, or Twat. Today we have a number of subjects to go through that took my fancy over the course of this week. Twitter has been quite the cesspool. There is a distinct lack of festivities. I am disappointed. To start, we're going to go with Obosexual here. Handy Mandy, you a girl like me, included 4 pictures of a lady in mechanic overalls holding a tool, looking very official. In the picture, the mechanic is using a wheel spanner, which is used to loosen the bolts that hold the wheel. I'm not even going to finish that sentence. But you're using it to loosen the battery. How very intuitive of you. Are you sure it's even the right size? The fun thing about this image is a quick Google search for female mechanic brings up a whole list of actual mechanics. Not one of them looks like a thought poser. I bet when the lady taking those photos knew the camera was off, she was very excited to get that grubby clothing off because, seriously, who'd want that touching her Gucci bottom or her bolt-ons? To move on from that, I have an honourable mention given to me by one of my very, very lovely patrons. No idea why this amuses me, but I will admit, people are stupid. I love it. So to our next subject, we go to Team YouTube and Moist Critical. Moist Critical has a phenomenal YouTube channel, does great content, looks like Jesus or John Wick crossed with Jesus, has an amazing voice. Stole my word. Doesn't matter. He had a gripe because at the end of last month he got a strike for an old video, a 3-year-old video of censored lewd game. His complaint, though, he has tagged Susan Wojcicki in it because he wants to talk directly to her about the fact the policy team's refusal to communicate and explain their decisions is a bit of a problem for creators. Since he has almost 7 million subscribers, he is a decent enough sized channel that if he makes a stir, someone might notice him. I mean, Team YouTube did. Appreciate your feedback on the policy. Don't you just love lip service? I get that all the time, because Team YouTube's Twitter account may as well be automated. Although based on all the responses, it is automated. It's trash. But the interesting part here isn't the fact that Team YouTube responded. It's the fact Susan Wojcicki responded. Hey, Charlie, that's a weird way of saying Moist Critical. We will look into this video and I will set up time to talk with you to hear your feedback. Well, according to his channel, which is Penguins, zero even, he did, upon swearing on his Pokemon deck, have a conversation with Susan Wojcicki. And essentially, it comes down to, wait, there's an issue with YouTube? I didn't know this. It's not like YouTube content creators for the better part of however many years this has been going on for, may as well say since the inception of YouTube at this point, have been raising concerns and been actively ignored by YouTube. Dear Susan Wojcicki, and this is for you by the way, at some point you're going to stop ignoring us. But chances are when you bother to listen to the complaints we have, whether it comes to your shadow banning, whether it comes to promoting of content, monetization systems, whether it comes to how one uploads or whether they will require a license, how the striking is done, the transparency, who reviews content for monetization and so on. It is quite a lengthy list, I might add. It's quite frustrating. It would be nice if you would listen to creators, and it's great you sat down with Moist Critical to have a conversation. It's a shame it's not public, though. That would have been more interesting. And to fall on the last part of Moist Critical's video that took my interest when it came to enforcing policy equally, that is incredibly ambitious and unlikely considering how much content is uploaded to your site on a daily basis. So to say you want to do something like that is no better than the lip service we get from Team YouTube on Twitter. For our penultimate subject, I want to go to Twitter's Twitter. 2020 in one word. Now this is a tricky one for a lot of us. There have been ups, there have been downs. For Keemstar, censorship. For YouTube, unsubscribe. For Netflix, why? For me, I think the word has to be interesting, because it really has been. And I have to explain a little. Yes, IRL-wise, I lost my work when we had the first sheeple control lockdown introduced in March. I did regain my work temporarily before a second sheeple control lockdown was introduced, which is where we are now. It is quite frustrating to not be able to go to the gym. It is frustrating to not be able to do things like meet up with friends, go to gigs. It does, in fact, suck. But the interesting thing is, I managed to keep a promise I made in 2016 that I could make YouTube a job, and I was able to fall back on it, or use it as a backup in place of the IRL work I've had since 2014. Now, of course, when this is all over, I want my work back, and I will get my work back. But it is going to be quite challenging. But the interesting aspect is how one has adapted this year because of it, and still managed to maintain their core values and beliefs, and continue working and persevering regardless of the obstacles many of us have had thrown at us. It's also interesting because I've had to learn how to make content a little differently when it came to more popular subjects, something which I never really managed to do successfully back in 2016 when response videos and the anti-SGWs was a bigger topic. I am interested to know what, for everyone watching, the one word you would use to describe 2020 will be. Please do let me know in the comments down below. I am genuinely interested. So to the final subject, we're going to go to Deaf Noodles. The last This Week at Twitter was a topical video on the fact Deaf Noodles cannot take criticism. In the Twitter thread he did as a conclusion attacking many commentary channels that are within a group. He used every major cliche trope buzzword that he could think of and to then insert into the Twitter thread as a means of deflecting and then trying to portray those criticizing him as racist, which was the big takeaway point, yet no one was doing that, which I find quite funny. He then put out a video addressing the subject to fob it off under comedy, cause, well, the person who did the original video that he himself tweeted out, Grady Hooper, put out a second video, pointing out that basically everything Deaf Noodles did reaffirmed everything he had said in the first video. Oh, and Augie pointed out that Deaf Noodles can't take criticism because after he got hammered once, Deaf Noodles made a video pointing out he almost quit YouTube because he couldn't handle the criticism. Well, interestingly, Deaf Noodles put out a Twitter thread addressing, with a level of hindsight, that he is taking the criticism in and looking for ways to improve, and that, much like Armored Skeptic, Deaf Noodles is a character with flaws, which is part of the commentary behind the satire. And there I was thinking it was because John Swan put out this video here.
Hey guys, we're going to Brazil.
Hey everyone, it's your favorite crybaby again. Here to tell you how Pokemon got cancelled again. Shane Dawson got exposed by Garrett Watson.
But then I realised this was a day later. People are still, by the way, arguing semantics when it comes to race, nationality, but the main point is those accusing people like Augie and other people within that sort of community Augie's in of being racist are just accusing, and they are not providing any proof that any of them were being that. To use such a thought-terminating cliche is a dangerous tactic. It is one that is being brought up by Tipster on his Twitter and many others. One must not seek to silence by simply calling someone a buzzword and expecting them to suddenly go, "Oh my god, I'm such a bad..." No, that's not how this works. You call someone something like racist, others then have to pounce on it and remind you That's not what they said, and the criticisms aimed at Deaf Noodles now are kinda magnified because of his fans as well as his belated actions. Now, as with everything, I'd love to know what you think about all of the subjects we've covered today. Please do let me know in the comments down below. As a final thing, I'm going to be streaming tonight on Omegon Plays. If I don't see you there tonight for Euro Truck Simulator 2, I hope you'll have a fantastic Saturday, and thank you all for listening.